Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. Welcome to this session of Islam Study Circle. Starting off with the Quran, we have verse number 45 from Surah number 29, which is Surah Ankabut. It says, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. And be diligent in the prayer because it deters people from lewdness and evil. So, viewers, this is a very important commandment from the Quran. It relates to our everyday prayer, the prayers that we offer 5 times a day. It starts off by saying that Aqim salat, which does not merely mean to pray, it actually means to be very diligent and showing vigilance in the prayer. And it involves concentration in the prayer, it involves saying the prayer on its time. It also involves being fully devoted to the prayer and at the same time trying our best not to miss the prayer in any way. So all these elements are encompassed, but the most important of these elements is that trying as much as we can to concentrate in the prayer and to realizing the fact that we are standing before God. We have discussed this earlier on as well, that one of the ways to make ourselves a very attentive to the Almighty, as if we are standing in His presence, as if we are standing in His court of justice, is that there are instances in the prayer that can be said in a different language than Arabic. So the 5 instances that have to be uttered in Arabic language are, of course, whenever we say Allahu Akbar, that has to be in Arabic. Surah Fatiha has to be in Arabic. Then the surah that we read after Surah Fatiha has to be in Arabic. The 4th instance is when we say Sami Allahu liman hamida, and the 5th is when we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So barring these 5 instances where we have to utter whatever has been prescribed in the Arabic language, all the other instances are ones in which we have been given the leverage and the latitude to talk to God, to ask for anything that we have in our minds, to thank Him, to glorify Him, and to name these instances when we start the prayer. So instead of saying Subhanaka Allahumma, we can say anything that comes to our mind in our own language. Similarly, while kneeling and prostrating, again we have the latitude to say anything that comes to mind. And finally, when we're sitting in At-Tahiyyat in both the rakats, we can say anything that comes to our mind, and of course that has to be of the nature of a dua, or glorifying Almighty, or thanking Him, or relating to His own being and His monotheistic presence. So if we are able to do this, we will be really doing ourselves a great service, because this is something that makes us concentrate in the prayer, especially when we have the leverage to use our own language as well. Also important to realize is that the prayer is something that we must know as to why it has been made incumbent upon us. So the thing which the Quran has mentioned is Aqim as-salata li-zikri, that you show diligence in the prayer in order to remember me. And to remember God, of course, the greatest thing to remember Him is to remember His favors, His blessings, what He has done for us, and what He's continuing to do for us in spite of the fact that we might not even deserve it. So if we understand the fact that we are offering the prayer to thank God for His blessings and to remember Him for His blessings, we will always look forward to the prayer, because thanking Him for His bounties, for His graciousness, it should come naturally to us, because of the fact that whenever we are engaged in our lives, we at times tend to forget, we take things for granted. But the prayer reminds us that we are standing in the company of God, in the presence of God, and we are trying to acknowledge His favors. We are placing the highest point of our body, which is our forehead, on the ground to acknowledge God and to say thank you to Him for all that He has done. And if we consistently remember God because of the gratitude that we owe to Him, we will always think that this is something very important that we are doing. We cannot thank God enough. So all that we can do is make this commitment that we will follow what He has required us to do, and at the same time also share our blessings with the underprivileged and share whatever we can to people who are around us. And there are plenty and scores of people who are in need, who are desperate, and yet they might not come to us for their needs. They are people who would not like to sacrifice their self-esteem, and they would rather sleep empty stomach than to come and beg for something. So it is our responsibility to reach out to these people and to make ourselves realize that we are not doing any favor to these people. We are actually doing a favor to our own self. The next part of the verse, it says, Inna salata tanha anil fahshai wal munkar. And indeed, the prayer deters people from lewdness and evil. So that is another functionality and another benefit of the prayer. It stops us from doing things that are lewd, which are lustful, which are sexually prohibited as far as the Sharia is concerned, because it's like a deterrent. It is something that we stand in the presence of God, we feel that we should not do certain things that are not required of us. So just as our conscience stops us from doing things which are unbecoming, similarly, the prayer has the role that it stops us, or it actually tries to stop us. Whether we stop or not is something that we need to concentrate by using our willpower. But it is like a it's like a red light that lights up whenever we are inclined towards evil. And as the Quran has said, al-fahsha wal-munkar, that both these areas must be thought of, that not only just the fact that we must not do anything which is obscene or indecent, at the same time all bad things, all munkar things, and the word munkar actually encompasses all those universal evils that mankind regards to be evil. For example, dishonesty, injustice, corruption, to extort money. So all these universal evils, the nature of the prayer is that it makes us realize that we are standing in God, before God, and this is like a commitment that we are making, that when we will break the prayer, when we finish the prayer, and we of course go out and be among people, then our commitment with God will not waver, it will not shake, it will not, we will not go back on our words, and we will try ourselves to abstain from such things. And remember, this is a regular exercise. It's like a constant test that we are put through during all our lifetime on this earth, because evil thoughts or evil, and similarly indecency and obscenities, they keep provoking us. They are provocative, of course, and they are also luring. They tend to lead us astray. So it is through this strong connection with God that we can overcome this, and this connection itself is afforded by the prayer. So when we are praying deeply, connecting to God is something that takes place automatically. So the stronger our God connection, the stronger is our chance that we will be able to evade such things when they come our way. And of course, then we have another very important area through which we can connect to God, and that is by reading the Quran and the previous scriptures, because through them we are able to know and connect to God in a more meaningful way, in a way that He'd like to connect us through. So yes, reading the Quran, and at the same time reading scriptures that are in conformity with the Quran, and that also helps us fix our compass, and it helps us, it calibrates us in the right direction. So now we come to the next part, and this is a hadith that we'll be studying, and it talks about two types of enviable persons. So the text is, or the translation is, Abdullah ibn Masud says that God's messenger said, only two people are worthy of envy. First, a person whom God has given wealth and he went about spending it for the cause of the truth, and a person whom God blessed with wisdom and he decided the affairs of people through it and taught it to them. So obviously this is another a very subtle and a very meaningful narrative. It doesn't mean that we have to be jealous of such people. It is just telling us that if at all envy would have been allowed, it would have been allowed for such people. And of course, envy here is not in the negative sense. It is in the sense that, well, to show ourselves this inspiration from other people. If ever we can be inspired by people, it is through these two very important traits which a person has. So the first trait is that a person has been given wealth, and he goes about spending his wealth for the cause of truth. And therefore Quran says that if we are able to do our best by using our wealth for the cause of truth, and this of course can encompass many things, like for example things that are needed by religion at a particular time in a particular society. It could be a mosque, it could be research institutes, it could be publishing of books that relate to the Quran or the Quran itself as well, and anything that can be used for the patronage of religion. So that is something which is an enviable trait. If a person has the money and he has also a large heart, not just money but a heart as well, to spend the money for the cause of God. And secondly, the person who has wisdom. So wisdom is something which, if a person has and he uses this wisdom to resolve the matters of people, and he also teaches this wisdom to people, then he is another person whom we should be inspired through. He is the person whom we must try to learn as much as we can, because this wisdom is something that is not very, very common. It's quite unique. And at other instances of the Quran, we have been told that the key to wisdom is patience. The more lax you are in expressing your reaction, the more time you give yourself, the more deep you think, the more patient you are, the more you'll have this element of wisdom. So not only the fact that a person who is wise, he is able to reach the crux of the matter, he also is someone to whom people look up, because through this effort he is also able to resolve any situations that might arise. It could be conflicts, it could be things in which people end up really differing and arguing with each other. So a wise person is one who can go to the bottom of a particular problem. He or she can pick up the exact area or the exact point which has become a point of dispute, and of course offer his or her advice. So yes, these two people, they are really worthy of being inspired from: a person who spends for the cause of God, for the cause of truth, and a person who has wisdom. He's been blessed with wisdom. Of course, this is a divine blessing, no doubt about it. And a person is not just wasting that talent, but he is using his wisdom to resolve the matters of people around him. And he is not one who is just going to ignore people or just walk away from them thinking that, well, it's not his concern. Well, if a person has the talent to resolve a matter, and the matter also concerns someone that you know, or even if you don't know, but of course you have the knack to resolve it, and this is something that we must use, because this is a quality, of course, that God has given us, and He is going to hold us accountable for the talents that we have. And we do wish that this wisdom that we have and this wealth that we have, so wealth and wisdom both start with a W, and both have a very important role in our lives if they are used in the right way. So now we come to the third section, and this is something that we'll be studying from the Bible. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 24, verse 17, and it is titled as Justice. So the words are: "Be upright in judging the cause of the man from a strange country, and of him who has no father. Do not take a widow's clothing on account of a debt, but keep in mind that you were a servant in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God made you free. For this is why I give you orders to do this." So now, of course, the Israelites are being commanded to do certain things as Moses is delivering his final speech. So the book of Deuteronomy, as we know, is the book in which Moses has taken up this responsibility of once again reminding the Israelites. He's asking them to enter the land of Canaan, and at the same time, this is an area, or this is a segment of his life in which we know from the book of Deuteronomy as well, that he would not be able to cross into the land, and he would be someone who would be called to God before they enter this land, and it would be under his rightful lieutenant, who is Joshua, who would be leading them into this kingdom. And they are being given these words of advice that be upright in judging the cause of the man from a strange country, which of course means that a person who does not even belong to your place, and he comes to you, you should not show any bias, you should not show any prejudice, but you have to be upright, whether the person belongs to your own country or comes from a foreign country or a different country. As far as the parameters of justice are concerned, they must be the same. You have to deliver justice with the same yardstick. We have to measure the affairs of people with the same yardstick, and regardless of the fact who the person is, we have to dispense with justice. And then, of course, because these are the weakest sections of the society, the Almighty has pointed out, and of him who has no father as well, which means an orphan. An orphan must also be dispensed with justice. There should not be any extortion, because this is the case when an orphan is normally entrusted to guardians. They might just make hay from the wealth that they have. So again, this is something which has been cautioned from, that we must be very, very careful, that we must not in any way be unjust to an orphan. And then it is said that do not take a widow's clothing on account of a debt. So, of course, if she is liable to pay back that debt and she's not being able to pay back that debt, then don't in return take her clothing. Of course, that's her primary need. That's something that is a substantial amount. I mean, the substantive thing that is required as far as the personal life is concerned of such women, that in such circumstances, the Almighty wants that they should be given concession, they should be given more time and more leverage. And then they are reminded, but keep in mind that you were a servant in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God made you free. So this is like reminding the Israelites that in Egypt they were in slavery, they were working in such a horrific situation in which, of course, many of them, they were extracted labor without being given any remuneration. And under the Pharaoh, of course, this was something that was of great brutality that they were facing. But God has reminded them that He was able to bring them out from Egypt, and we know that Moses was able to take them out, and the Pharaoh pursued him, but of course he was made to drown in the Red Sea. And so the Israelites have been reminded that, well, remember, you were in this vulnerable position. So now people who are vulnerable, like the widows and the orphans and the travelers and people who seek asylum, you have to be extra kind and extra affectionate to them, because these are people who don't have someone to turn to. And now you must be their guardians. You must treat them with kindness, compassion, and at the same time realize that your past was no different. You were once in this position, and now you must not forget your past and do a good turn to people who you find in such a vulnerable position. So with this, we come to the fourth segment of our study circle. This is normally a discussion which is moderated, and the topic today that we have is becoming sensitive to the needs of others. So the topic has been selected in order to make us realize that, of course, making ourselves aware of the fact that we have needs is perfectly okay. To becoming sensitive to our own needs is there's nothing wrong with it. But then, of course, the important thing is that we should not be so engrossed in our own needs that we forget people who are around us, who might be needing something, and we might be in a position to help them, but because of a lack of sensitivity, we are not, mentally present. So yes, this is something very important, and over to you, Mariam, if you could just continue with this moderation of this topic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. If you'd like to participate, and I expect most of you to participate. We don't have that many people. Please raise your hand to participate, or if you're unable to unmute yourself, you can post down your ideas in the chat. I will start off the discussion by saying, sort of going back to the first topic, the Qur'an section, where you mentioned that there are people that are needy, but they don't show it or they don't talk about it, and it would hurt their ego otherwise. So in that same sense, I think that becoming a good observer and a good listener are the skills that are important to figure out, or at least to get a better sense of what is somebody going through and how you might be able to help them. Because if people don't outwardly say what they're saying, what they're going through, or maybe they're like, oh, I can't do this, I have something else going on. It could be that they're going through some trouble, but they're just not able to share it. So those are the two things that I could think of. I'll be honest, I'm not very good at either. So, that's a skill I'm working towards. But yeah, that's my contribution.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have
go ahead.
One. Salman Aziz, please go ahead.
I'd just like to add that probably in the Hadith that you want to help somebody, it should be in a way that the right hand is doing something, the left hand doesn't know about that.
Right.
Just to get this ball rolling and have more clarity, maybe the word need may be elaborated more because the needs of every person nowadays have changed, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
discussion about that what is need and what is want, maybe, and what is becoming maybe a bounty of life, which is accepted more than need, is not basic
Mm-hmm.
parameter of human life. So I think the word need needs to be
Right.
elaborated more.
Yes,
And
you see, I mean,
I'm
this is used
thinking about
in a general sense here. I mean, we are not talking about any specific need, but obviously, need here refers to financial need. It could be emotional need. It could be something that is psychological. So you see, we have various needs as human beings. Our needs are not just material; they are also spiritual. So whether we would like to, benefit people through by through conversation, by letting us know ourselves, what how a person is behaving and how a person is, because you see, you have to look behind the eyes of a person, look behind what that person is. That person might appear to be very, very well set, but if you're able to hit or strike the right chord or say the right words and give that person the assurance that you're not judging that person and that you're not in any way trying to ridicule that person. So people do share their problems. It's just a question of making yourself a person to whom people can trust with their personal issues. So if you can come out in this way and talk to people to give them that assurance, then they will open up with you. So it could be, as I said, emotional need, it could be a financial need, it could be grief that a person might be going through and he needs support. So there are so many things that people are. So it's like having contact with people, and this is especially needed when you're living amongst your family. So your family, your extended family, your friends, your workplace friends or colleagues. So these are people who you spend your life with. So therefore, it is not something that you should just make it a point that you're just concerned with your own self. So if you have eyes and ears, you are bound to catch hold of any signals of distress that these people might be passing through.
Thank you. I'd like to see some more raised hands. While people are pondering, I'd like to add that since you're mentioning family and friends, I feel that it's harder for somebody to open up to you
Mm-hmm.
unless you also open up to them, because it's a
Correct.
two-way street. So if you never show any kind of vulnerability, it sometimes might put the other person like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I have all these issues going on, I have all these troubles in my life, but I can't say it to this person because they won't be able to
Right.
relate to me.
Correct.
So I
So you
found that.
see, yeah, that's correct. And you see, as far as vulnerability is concerned, I mean, no one is free of vulnerabilities. All of us, we have some vulnerability or the other. So yes, you're right. If you're able to share your own vulnerability, the other person gets the confidence that yes, I can share mine as well. And as you rightly said, it's like a two-way traffic. It's like some symbiotic relationship between two individuals, but someone has to take the first step. It's like breaking the ice. So yes, as individuals, instead of waiting for the other person, we must take the initiative and make create that atmosphere and that environment in which it becomes easier for people to converse and to vent out whatever they have in their minds.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Noshad Shafkat, please go ahead.
Dr. I think the topic is difficultly worded, so that is why you have very few responses. But what I would like to say is uh, what I think Dr. Sherlock Holmes told Watson: keep your eyes and your ears open, and
Mm,
you keep your mouth shut, and you will find
mhm,
out many things. Uh, I think the best way to do it is be observant, especially of your neighbors. Now, I
mhm,
didn't want to mention it, but I think the topic demands. We have a neighbor living in a nice area, nice society.
mhm,
He has three children, a daughter and two
mhm,
sons, a wife. We see him
mhm,
go. He doesn't own a car, unfortunately, but he goes on a bike
Mm-hmm.
and he works as a manager of some restaurant or something.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I observed his children being a little sad, not
Mm-hmm.
playing around as frivolously as they used to.
Mm-hmm. They used to.
So I
Mm-hmm.
gauged from that that there is something wrong with them. And
Mm-hmm.
I asked the elder son, who is about 12, and he told me that his father, even though he's, I think, in his mid 40s, had suffered a stroke,
Mm-hmm.
and part of his body was paralyzed, but then he
Oh.
recovered. It was a short duration, but then
Mm-hmm.
again he fell well. So what I'm basically trying to say is being sensitive to others, not just looking at them, looking at the elders, but
Mm-hmm.
even the
Mm-hmm.
family members can tell you their
Correct.
behavior, the way they
Mm-hmm.
go about, the way they,
Mm-hmm.
exchange pleasantries with you. All these need to
Mm-hmm.
be observed that this gentleman used to wish
Mm-hmm.
me, very enthusiastically. Why has
Mm.
he wished me in a mild manner
In a
today?
wild way. Correct.
There's so many
Mm-hmm.
people I found out. I go out to them, and
Mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah, I have this intuition of somebody is facing some trouble. I go to
Mm-hmm.
him, ask him, and of course he's reluctant at first. But then
Mm.
I myself, like Mariam said and you said, sir, that I confide in them that I've been
Mm-hmm.
through so many troubles. I also spent days when this happened with me, and then they gradually come out with it. So
That's
I'm
right.
prolonging what I'm saying because I don't see other raised hands, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
helping out Mariam with that, and
Mm-hmm.
she's nodding approval.
Mm.
So, sir, I think one has to be just keep your eyes and ears open.
Mm-hmm.
Be sensitive to changes in a person's tone, in a person's manner of dressing, in a person's manner of greeting you or anybody else.
Right.
And if you notice some changes, then the best thing to do is confide,
Mm.
call him, and I think privacy is very necessary, because
Absolutely.
there are
Uh-huh.
many. And the difficult part, people to help is not the beggars who come begging, but the white
Mm-hmm.
collar people who wouldn't like to show that they
Mm-hmm.
are in need of anything. It is they
Correct.
and their privacy, if it is respected, and
Mm-hmm.
they are assured that whatever you are doing for them is only for God's pleasure,
Correct.
not expecting any reward of any sort.
Mm-hmm.
Even, sometimes I go in a car and I see a needy person, I give him some money. He asks me, sir,
Mm-hmm.
साहब आपकी कार को कपड़ा लगा दूं?" I say, no, no way, even if my car is dirty. I say, no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get it serviced right now. So we
Mm-hmm.
no need to clean. That's the way I think
Mm-hmm.
you should go about. If anything more is needed, I can add later. Thank you so much, sir.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank
So
you.
you said, I mean, this is, as you've rightly said, I mean, it's just a question of observing people and noting any change if it occurs in their behavior, in their manner of conversation, and it tells a lot about that person. So if you are not noting people, if you don't have a deep sense of observation, you might just overlook all these things, the slight change in the mood, the slight change in the nature of conversation. But if you are sensitive yourself, this is not you're not going to lose sight of these things. You'll immediately detect how a person is going through, because at times even facial expressions, they tell us a lot. Even if a person is not conversing, by merely looking at the person, by looking at the gestures or some of the things that he or she might be doing, so they also convey a lot. So I think it's a question of tuning ourselves. And I would like to also add here that, I mean, this is one obligation that we owe to the next generation as parents and as grandparents, that we must train them, we must instruct them. And the reason I say this is that uh, a lot of selfishness is creeping up in our lives, because of the fact that There's a rat race in so many material, I would say, goods or material practices that we are unfortunately become prone to. So this is especially needed that as elders, as parents, as grandparents, you become role models, and you particularly talk to your younger generation that they should take some voluntary service in some organization. It could be for the blind, it could be for the handicapped, it could be an orphanage, it could be an old home. Because you see, these are areas in which you become sensitized. They stimulate your sensitivity. They bring out the thing that we already have. It's not that compassion and kindness is not found in us, it's just that at times we are too busy. So areas such as these that I've just pointed out, if we go there regularly, if you visit such places, they make us more sensitive to our environment, and it make us more familiar to finding out such people.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. One thing that I also
May
want.
I add? Sorry.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Okay, Dr. Sab, I think what you just said has brought something to my mind, and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
start it right from tomorrow. I'm going to start tuitioning little children from
Mm-hmm.
families who can't afford it. That's
Mm-hmm.
my commitment at this forum to all of you. That
That's
inshallah
very
from
good.
tomorrow, I will ask people to send their
Mm-hmm.
children at a particular time, little children from class 1 to
Mm-hmm.
class 5 maybe, and I will give them free tuitions just because I've been inspired by you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Thank you so much. That's such a valiant effort. I wish you all the best, inshallah, and I hope there are people that you know. I hope you get a lot of turnout,
Thank
inshallah.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
One thing that I wanted to add in the mention of current day atmosphere, I've noticed like with the younger generations, they fear silence almost because they're
Mm-hmm.
so used to, quickly having, especially if they're used to like, say, short form video contents like TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
they're used to constantly hearing something,
Mm-hmm.
or there's always something going on, or used to multitasking, multiple things at the same time. And so when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
conversations, they cannot sit still and like, have even
Mm-hmm.
5 seconds of silence. It's like they get awkward around silence and they feel the need to fill it up with something.
Mm. Right.
And because
That's
of
correct.
that, I
Mm.
feel that, especially when working with younger children, if you just let them, if there is, you yourself as an adult can create some sort of that awkward silence to get them to talk
Mm-hmm.
more. So I've noticed that with my baby cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever there's some silence going on, I let that happen, and like literally 2-3 seconds later, they can't stand it, and then they start rambling. They start talking about their school
Mm.
and all the other stuff. So I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
that's been a strategy that I've only
Mm.
learned recently, and it's been working
That's
well. But I
it's
think
very
some adults
interesting.
might be in that zone too, just because we're so bombarded with like things all around us all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's correct, and that's a good suggestion. I think that all of us can work upon.
Thank you very much. No shots of Shafka. Did you have something else to add?
Oh, yes. Well, 10 out of 10 to Mariam for that. Yes. And what has this done is that it has the attention span of these little kids is just few seconds. If
Mm-hmm.
you're telling them something valuable, they would be having, an attention span of
A very
15,
smart.
20 seconds.
Yeah.
And after
Mm-hmm.
that, they would, just start screaming and all that. Therefore, what
Correct.
I think is that we must
Mm-hmm.
learn to restrict the time that these kids spend and
Mm-hmm.
take them out to interact with kids their ages to a public park, to a public place, or anywhere where
Mm-hmm.
kids their age, and then instruct them. In fact, goad them into sharing whatever they have with other
Mm-hmm.
kids. Like, for example, if you get them a pack of popcorns, if you see another kid who doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
one, you can ask
Mm-hmm.
him, should I get another one for him? And if he says
Mm.
yes, you go and get it for him and give it to him to share
Mm-hmm.
it with that other little kid. That's
Correct.
what I do regularly with my grandson. And
Mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah, he has a very good sharing habit. Even if his mom gives him something, he will bring it to me and say, Daddy, he calls me Daddy. Daddy,
Mm-hmm.
would you like a part of it? And I said, No, Baba, you eat it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way it goes. So I think that's a
Right.
good idea. And what we should do is in the younger kids, and I just need to narrate a small incident that I've
Mm-hmm.
read, the voracious reader. A lady took a child to Dr. Sigmund Freud,
Mm-hmm.
and the only question that she asked him, Doc, there is nothing wrong with my kid. Uh, when do I start educating him?
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Sigmund Freud asked, how old is your child? And she
Mm-hmm.
said, 2 years old. And Dr. Freud answered, Madam, you are already 2 years late. So we
Mm-hmm.
must not think that a kid who is 6 months old, who is a year and a half old, or 2 years old,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't pick up the good habits or the bad
Right.
habits that
Yes.
his
Mm.
parents or those living in the joint family, if he's living in one, his larger family, not just his parents, they
So,
are bound to pick it up.
hmm.
I
Let me
remember
add
seeing
a.
an ad. Sir,
Yes, please
several
go ahead.
years ago, I remember
Hmm.
seeing an anti-smoking ad. A
Mm-hmm.
3-year-old sister and a 5-year-old brother saying, okay, we'll play mommy and daddy. And they
Hmm.
said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the young boy acts like the father, and he takes
Hmm.
out a cigarette and he puts it to his mouth. And the little
Hmm.
girl tells him, darling, not in front of the kids, not if in front of the kids. And the boy answers, oh no, they're too young to notice. So
Hmm.
that is
Right.
the thing that we must remember.
Correct.
That
Mm-hmm.
kids, I know of a gentleman who was the head of the Indian Classical
Mm-hmm.
Musical Association. He
Mm-hmm.
said, when my wife was pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
he was very fond of classical music, make her sit and
Mm-hmm.
listen to classical music. And lo and
Mm-hmm.
behold, when the grandson was born, after a
Mm-hmm.
year and a half, he used to be so soothed by classical Indian music that many
Mm-hmm.
find to be gibberish. But then,
Mm-hmm.
because he had heard that, and I believe that that has an effect. What the mother hears does reflect on the child,
On the
whatever we
child.
say.
Yes.
Thank you for being so,
Actually, I just remembered one thing that I read somewhere, and that is that even before a child is born, and when he is being carried by his mother or her mother in her womb, we see that there are psychologists who tell us that when a husband and wife they argue and they scream or they shout at one another, that the fetus which is being carried by the mother, that frequency with which you maybe fight or argue has an impact on that unborn child. So
absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
I was just reading that, well, once children are born, of course, you have to be extra careful. But here comes some more data which tells us that even when they are not born and the mother is carrying them, so there are certain things which the child gets impacted upon by, and so that we have to be very careful with them as well.
So this incident about the classical music and the mother when she was pregnant listening to classical music was told to
Mm-hmm.
me by this friend of mine, I think 20, 30 years ago. And he told me, he said, amazingly, that little boy, when he's born, he is so fond of classical music that when I take him to my room and I put on classical music, he just loses himself as if he's, gone into another world. And that was amazing to me. But then now
Mm-hmm.
science confirms that. Thank you very
Correct.
much. Sorry for being very verbose. And thank you, Mariam,
Yes,
for allowing me
perfectly.
the time.
No, that I want to thank you for sharing all
Mhm.
these nice stories and a lot of
Yep.
info with us. Do we have more participants for the discussion today? If you'd like to participate, there's still some time. Please raise your hand. Salman Aziz, please go ahead.
Okay, there is a verse from Ghalib, and it's very difficult to, I think, translate in English, so I'll say in Urdu, please. पानी से सक गजीदा डरे जिस तरह असद आईने से डरता हूँ कि मर्दम गुजीदा.
Correct.
I think nowadays people are a bit afraid of each other. That somebody is getting frank with me, want to interact with me, want to be with me. What is the reason? Why is he getting sensitive for me? Because probably I think people are afraid from one another nowadays. The social culture and many bad things in the society have led us to become insensitive towards the needs. And
Right.
another aspect could be that unfortunately, once we go into the history of crimes, that time we have seen to the extent of serial killers, maybe Bundy or people like that, even normal criminals, they used to exploit this sensitivity of good human beings and led them into something like nasty. So I think we have to be careful about that also, that being sensitive means that we should keep a bit guard on to in which path we are about to lead ourselves in helping others.
Correct. That's thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you for adding about the current day climate too, because there are a lot of rage bait content too online that particularly plays upon people's sensitivities, and they keep on getting more and more absurd in order to garner more views. And after, you know, like more than 10 years of those stupid prank videos or rage bait videos, people have become really desensitized to things, and then that again affects their real life, even though people in normal real life, I don't think nobody tends to act like that, at least not people around me. So I've found like staying away from those kind of things has helped me massively in learning to recommunicate with people around me. And
I can just add a couple of points also in this, that can be discussing that, just taking up the point from Rashad Shafisab, that something very nice, that you don't let somebody to clean your car or other things because you're helping him. But the other aspect can be that to make somebody learn an honest day's labor, we should be asking him to do something for us in lieu of the money. But I think basically everybody will be get by the motives. So I think the basic niyat will be counting, that what niyat somebody is trying to do something or helping somebody, trying to be sensitive to somebody's needs.
Correct. That's right. And Mariam, if we don't have any other participants, we can move on to the Q&A.
All right, let's move on to the Q&A. We're open to all questions, whether it's related to today's topics or otherwise. Please raise your hand if you have any questions, or type them in the chat. In the meantime, Noshad Shafqat, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. First, clarification, and additional to what I previously said, is that, well, I think I'll let it go because we're trying to help out that family. But anyway, my question is, sir, how about offering prayers on Janamaz, which have the picture of Kaaba drawn on it? I find it a little, I'm reluctant to do that, because if we see a picture of the Kaaba in a magazine or something on the floor, people pick it up. But then the same people, they stand on a Janamaz with the Kaaba right at their feet and they offer prayers. Your views, sir?
Well, I think it's a subjective thing. If you find it distracting, you can always change the style or the type of your prayer mat. I mean, it depends if you get distracted or not. And the other thing is that normally the picture of the Kaaba is near the place where you are going to prostrate. So it's near the forehead part of your body that you are going to touch it. So I think that is not a problem. But as I said, it could be a subjective thing if a person thinks that he's being distracted. I mean, there are prayer mats which are absolutely plain. There's no design over them. He can use that.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Well,
Saleem.
I was asking about from the religious point of view. Is it proper? Would it be proper for a person? But because the picture of the Kaaba is, I think, almost in the middle, the gap that we leave when we are doing sajda. But with our,
It
I
seems
think,
okay to me. I mean, basically, what we are
yes.
doing is that, I mean, we're kneeling at that spot and placing our head right above it or a little bit above it. So you see, there are so many patterns of prayer mats that are being made and they are being printed or whatever. So I think what you can do is that choose one in which this is something that is more towards the head side, or you can choose some prayer mat which is absolutely plain. And I mean, let people make their own choice and decision. I would not be very fussy about it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Just to follow up on that question, because I also feel distracted when I'm praying. I tend to close my eyes when I'm. Is that
Mhm.
okay?
Yes, that's okay.
Thank
If you
you.
feel distracted, you can close your eyes.
Thank you so much. The next question asks, what was the burhan that Qur'an mentions which prevented Prophet Yusuf succumbing to the offer of the lady? This is
Hmm. Hmm.
Amin.
The Burhan, of course, meant that he was chastened and he was cautioned that he should not do what that woman is offering him to do. So the Burhan is basically that sign that appeared in his mind. It could be anything of a realization that, well, I must not succumb to this situation. So the resolve not to succumb was that Burhan.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Sinman Hazi's question is, some scholar forbade use of AI for clarifying religious beliefs. What are your thoughts on this?
Some scholars forbade Yusuf.
AI for clarifying religious beliefs specifically.
You're talking about Yusuf alayhi salam?
No. This is a separate question.
I get the question. Some
Oh, the
scholars did.
AI, AI.
yeah, so they're saying that do not use AI to clarify religious beliefs.
I
Artificial
don't know.
intelligence.
I don't
Artificial
get this.
intelligence.
This is the same as using Google or any other source. So I mean, you don't rely on these things. You can always verify them. So I think it's a good source of finding out knowledge. But if you after experiencing it, you find that there is something inaccurate, then I mean, you should not use it. But I have been using it for the last 1 year or more, and I find it to be pretty accurate. Lots of things that it says I verify from other sources, and at times it is, I mean, more than I haven't seen except maybe once or twice that it might have faltered because the question was very difficult. Otherwise, the data that the AI domain has is unbelievable. I mean, I just at times it just astounds me how it comes up with that data. So I think at best what you can do is have it verified if you feel that there's something you might need to verify.
It might also depend on whatever you're using.
Of course, it depends
Different
on the
models are
nature.
trained on different data.
Correct.
So just be careful of, again, verify. And
Mm.
sometimes
Mm-hmm.
if you try to correct something, it'll remember that conversation and then it'll later keep on
Right.
correcting itself, but that can also cause it to hallucinate if
Mm.
you're wrong in your information. So
Mm.
please be cautious.
So you see, the way these AI things work, they are being continuously updated from the data that we provide them. So you see, all these huge, whatever you can call them, they get tons and tons of feedback every day in which what people do, it's fed back into them, and for with each passing moment they become more precise and more accurate, and this is a thing that is continuing. So I can tell you out of my personal experience, whether it's science, whether it's philosophy, whether it's religion, whether it's any topic, the extent of information that I normally have gauged from such sources is tremendous, and hardly have I seen any inaccuracy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Aisha Naz, you're up next. Please go ahead.
So my question is regarding the prayers. Actually, I have a Shia friend, and I also have heard some Bohra Muslims that they acknowledge that we are only allowed, like we are asked to pray only 3 times. And at the time when I was having this conversation with my friend, the Shia friend, and I actually didn't have a very good knowledge on this, that why we pray 5 times and they
Mm-hmm.
pray 3. Sometimes when I ask that, like, how do you decide the 3 times? They just say that they sometimes merge the Zohar and Asr and Maghrib and Isha, just
Isha.
like that.
Correct.
And I
Yes.
asked them, isn't it on the when we are traveling and certain some circumstances?
Yes, you
But they
see,
say that
that's correct. That's correct. That basically this is how it should work. That whenever there is some need, you can combine the Zohar and Asr and Maghrib and Isha. But for the Shiites, they have a different view, and because of certain ahadiths that they think that you can permanently combine, even if you don't have a reason, Zohar and Asr, which they call Zohrain, and Maghrib and Isha, which they call Maghribain. And this is, juristic difference of interpretation that they have, and they are very adamant on it. So yes, I mean this is, we have to agree to disagree with them.
But sir, as far as I know, there is not any Quranic verse where Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has asked us to pray like 5 times. Sometimes He has mentioned like
Mm-hmm.
before dawn, like after dawn, and like this kind of reference He gave, like not specific 5 times, like Fajr, Zahar, Asr, and
Mm-hmm.
then Maghrib.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
Correct.
what else can I say to her that, because sometimes we have this conversation, and also I want to know like what can I say, or what can, as for
So
my
you see,
knowledge.
you have to understand that the as far as the five prayers are concerned, the Quran does not discuss them for the reason that the prayer itself owes its source to the Sunnah of the Prophet. So you see, there are two independent sources of religion. One is the Quran, and the other is the practice of the Sunnah of the Prophet. So the five prayers are something that have been transferred to us through Tawatur since the times of the Prophet. And the Quran just refers to those practices or those prayers. There are many things in the Quran which the Sunnah, for example, points out, circumcision being one of them, using your right hand being another. So there are certain etiquette which the Sunnah impresses upon us to do, but they are not mentioned in the Quran simply because it's not just the Quran which is the source of religion. The Sunnah is an equal source. And remember, when we talk about Sunnah, we're not saying Hadith. So Hadith is just a record at times of the Sunnah. Sunnah is the established practice of the Prophet that has been transferred by him to the first generation of companions, and they have transmitted the first generation in such large numbers to the next generation, and so on and so forth, that any collusion on any wrong transference is virtually ruled out. And this is, in short, what we call tawatur or perpetual concurrence. So what you need to maybe discuss with your friend first is the source of religion itself. It's not just the Quran. And the prayer is not, you not find the rakat of the prayer, you not find many other things that what we need to read in the prayer, even in the Quran. You'll not find the 2.5% or 10% rates of zakat in the Quran. You'll not find how we fast or some of the important things that we do in the fast. Similarly, you'll not find a lot of details about the Hajj. So you see, the ibadat or the worship rituals, and there are some other etiquette as well that have not been transmitted by the Quran. The Quran does refer to them, but primarily they have been referred by the established practice of the companions, and that has reached us.
If time allows, can I add a question to
Yeah,
it?
please go
Like
ahead.
a short question. Like what I said about merging the prayers, combining the prayers. It's like now I'm studying in university, and here because of the time, I cannot
Mm-hmm.
sometimes pray Zuhr, so I had to combine it with Asr, like most of the times. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I even heard one of my Muslim friends. She said that sometimes I fear that I cannot pray Isha, so that's why I pray it with Maghrib, because of like she might have think
Mm-hmm.
like that if maybe I will sleep, maybe I'm lazy, so it's better to pray with Maghrib. And also just I want an advice, like to have a
Mm-hmm.
focus on prayer, and also on this, like if I combine the prayers despite of
Mm-hmm.
like praying, like I can pray it later, but just for like to give ease to myself that let's pray it together, so that I don't have to pray it in Isha or
So I would
this.
I would suggest that you see, whenever there is a pressing issue at hand that you're not able to, or you think that you're not be able to offer the prayer on its own time, So yes, that is why this option has been given, that you can combine the prayer at either time. You can combine Zuhr, Asr, either at Zuhr or at Asr, and similarly with Maghrib. So you just need to make a rough estimate what best can be done. At other instances, you might also know that at times, if you're pressed, you can even pray while sitting, while walking. This is what the Quran has said. When the time of the prayer comes and you're driving or you're walking, you can say the prayer in this situation in a compromised way, of course. That is allowed as well. So many people think that unless the prayer is offered in the correct postures, you should not offer the prayer, which is not correct. I mean, for example, if you are in the market and the time of the prayer arrives, you can just do it through your gestures by walking in the market as well. And this is something which the Quran allows. So if you make use of all these concessions, at times combine the prayer would not even arise. The situation might not even arise. And whenever you feel that you would not be able to do it because of laziness or because of any other reason, yes, it's best to at least do it. It's better than doing it than not doing it. And then when the time actually comes and you feel up to it, you can re-offer the prayer as well. So you have all these kinds of options. And the thing that we have to remember is that the prayer is a very, very integral part of our life. Why? Because what we just discussed earlier on, that it connects us to God. It should be a means of enjoying our connection with God. You should look forward to the prayer. So if you have the prayer set right in your mind, it'll not be a burden. It'll be something that you look forward to. And so if you are able to know that you can pray parts of the prayer in your own language, if you know that you are praying because you are thanking God for His, unfathomable, and the favors that He has blessed us with are so numerous, so you'll be obliged to thank God. So you see, if you have the proper concepts regarding the prayer, you'll be looking forward to it. But having said all that, if there is any pressing need, that is precisely why we have been allowed to combine prayers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Our next question comes from Noshat Shafkat. Please go ahead and please try to keep your question concise.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that explanation just now, Dr. Sab. We must look forward to the prayer, not think that we have a burden
Right.
to discharge. But sir, my question is with regard to the Sunnah. It's a very short question. The prayer is not mentioned. The details of the prayer is not mentioned in the Quran, because I believe that it was being done previously also, and the Prophet only reintroduced it in the form that it is now, and also
That's correct.
with so many other beliefs, and like the rituals of Hajj, they were ancient. They've been followed by all the prophets almost. Is that correct?
That's
Just
correct.
yes or no,
That is
sir,
of course correct, because see, that is what we say, that it is the Sunnah of Sunnat Ibrahimi, or Abraham Sunnah. That is why the Sunnah, this is a shortened form of the word Sunnah. Otherwise, the full introduction of the word Sunnah is Sunnat Ibrahimi, or the Sunnah that was put in force by Prophet Abraham. But the thing is that
thank you.
because we follow Abraham's Sunnah after the Prophet himself has given sanction to it, so therefore we don't use the word Abraham or Ibrahimi Sunnah. We just say the Sunnah, signifying the fact that whatever God wanted him to continue with, what he received from Prophet Abraham, or whatever he wanted to add, he did so and then transferred it to us. And yes,
Thank
but
you.
this point that you've made is absolutely correct, that it pre-exists the Quran. The Quran is something that was, of course, revealed to Prophet Muhammad, but the Sunnah is something that can be traced back to Adam, peace be upon him. And yes, of course, from Abraham, it becomes quite discernible. But pre-Abrahamic existence of the Sunnah can be traced back right to Prophet Adam, the first prophet.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Last quick question of the day. What's the scientific explanation of Prophet Yunus surviving the acid inside the stomach of a whale that should have caused his immediate destruction?
And nothing but this was a miracle of God. God wanted to keep him alive in the stomach of that fish. And if God wants, no one can have a say in that. So normally human beings would not live there or not remain alive, but because it was a sort of punishment, so God did not want him to die. He just wanted to caution him. And I'm sure the 3 days that he spent in the belly of the fish must be very harrowing for him. Something of a very, very maybe a horrific experience as well, because if you're living in the belly of a fish, you can, I don't know what even to imagine to be when you're in such a situation. So because of the fact it was just a punishment, so it is through a miracle of God that God made him live those 3 days.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Thank you for the wonderful session, and thank you to all the participants for coming through, and a special thanks to Noshat Shafqat and Salman Aziz for their help and for their contribution during the discussion segment.
Thank you. That's correct.
And a lot of advice that you guys gave us. So thank you so much, and inshallah, we'll see you all tomorrow in another session of textual study of the Quran. Please keep your eyes and ears peeled out.
And yes, there's a small announcement that I'd like to make here is that during Ramadan, we will not have these regular sessions. So we have a daily 30-minute bite from the Quran that's called Quran for Ramadan. So it will be on every daily basis from 10 to 10:30 p.m. Starting from the 1st of Ramadan.
And that's Pakistan time, right?
That's Pakistan Ramadan time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. So, inshallah, see you all. And from my side, happy Ramadan to all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.